Welcome back, boys and girls. You already know who it is. It's your main math man, Mr. Shank. You know where we're at. Live from Mayfield. And what I'm going to quickly do is I want to go over this translation and reflection. Homework number 2. So, it has, for the first one, it says, in the directions. Let's always read the directions, make sure you know what you're doing. So it says, find the image of the transformation, the prime. So after the first transformation, prime. Now, the second transformation, you're going to label that as double prime. So, for example, if you had an ordered pair that made the point A, you made your first transformation, and so now you're going to have A prime. So you read this as A prime. Then, sequentially, you make a second transformation, and so now you have A double prime. So please make sure you're seeing this more than anything else. Alright, so using those directions, it says this. For number 1, it says the translation, do a translation, then a reflection. And so it says graph the triangle, so that little, that symbol is standing for a triangle, PQR with vertices P at -3, 4, Q at 4, 2, and R at -1, 1. And so next, graph the image of the triangle PQR after it has been translated 4 units down and 2 units left. One step at a time. So I'm going to keep reading and then we'll get there. Okay, so always step by step in the right direction. Finally, graph the image of triangle PQR after a reflection over the over the x-axis. Almost couldn't see that. I was close. All right, so write the coordinates of the vertices. And so what that's saying is, after if you do it graphically first, so if you're sliding that triangle first on the graph, make sure that you are separately showing your numbers. So one step at a time, let's first graph that original image, aka the pre-image. So we have the pre-image in black is going to be those points PQ are. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Again, make sure your graph is exactly how it should be. Otherwise, the whole thing's going to mess up. You're going to have to start fresh. And what I suggest you do is you can use pencil first and then go back over it with color. That way it's a lot easier to tell the difference between each of those. Some of us, you're not going to be able to see it, so you got to be very careful. So now let's make our first transformation. So we have the first transformation, we're translating, so we are just sliding. So we're going to slide 2 steps left and 4 steps down. What a lot of people were doing when I was helping them out, they wanted to say, oh, well, it reads as 4 units down, Mr. Shank. I have to put that in the X. Make sure that you're using those keywords that we had from yesterday. Make sure you're using that diagram and graph, so that way you know if I'm going left to right, I'm using my X. If I'm going up or down, I'm using my Y. So I translate and I get my first image. So it's going to be read as the points P prime is -5, 0. Q prime is going to be 2, -2. R prime is going to be -3, -3. Alright, again, I use red for this one just to be able to show the differences between those two pictures. So now that you have this, from this first image, again, be very mindful in red, we are going to make a reflection. So, third and final step, I want to reflect over the x-axis. And so just like yesterday, I'm going to get that handy dandy hand out, and so I'm going to have over the x-axis is where I'm going to place my hand. Alright, so I place my hand on the x-axis, and all I have to do is I just plant that pinky right on the side, and I see, okay, what's changing? Well, I should be only moving my y values, okay? And so my x values stay the same, and my y values I take the opposite of. It's not necessarily negative, it's not necessarily positive. You just take the opposite of what is given. And so our second image, our double prime, in green, is going to still be the points. P double prime is going to be -5, 0. Mr. Shank, that's the same point. Mr. Shank, it can't be, it has to be something different. Luckily, a way to think about that is when you get real close to a mirror, it's going to be the same exact point, because if you're touching that mirror, it's in the same location. It's the same distance away from that original point. And so since we have a point on that x-axis, we have to include it, and it's going to stay the same. So, always relaxed, always calm. Our Q double prime is going to be 2, 2, and so our double prime is going to be a -3, 3. And so I show that in green, like so. Again, please do notice how when I flipped this over to the x-axis, my top point was where my bottom point was. So again, it is flipping over that x-axis. If you have any questions on that, please just, and I'll come right to you. If you're having trouble, excuse me, Mr. Shank, I have a question. Come right for you. Please do ask questions, that way you have all the clarifications taken care of. So now, still just like your hand, there's always a back, and so we flip to the back, and so for that second one, it reads like this. The reflection, then a translation. Graph the quadrilateral ABCD with vertices A, -4, 1, B, -2, 3, C, 0, -3, and D, -3, -2. Next, graph the image of ABCD after a reflection over the y-axis. Translate the image 3 steps to the right and 2 steps up. Write the coordinates of the vertices. So, first step, pre-image. So, I draw up my pre-image in black, and so I have those points that it gave us. Make sure it makes a solid quadrilateral, meaning it has uno, dos, tres, 4 sides for yourself. If you can maybe guess what shape this kind of looks like, again, we would have to prove it a different way, but that's a whole other topic. Does it kind of look like a trapezoid? And so, again, it should be one set of parallel lines, and the 2 opposite sides would intersect. But that's for another video. All we're just trying to do is graph some points make a couple transformations, have a good time, call it a day. So, pre-image, first transformation. Reflect over the y-axis. That means the y-axis stays the same. So just like before, I need to place. Whoa, where do I go? What do I? Nope. Always find your center and use that to your strength. So I have my. There we go. I have my y-axis, and now you can see. Again, I'm just planting my hand on my paper, and I'm saying, okay, I am changing from left to right. So my x values are changing. My y values are staying the same. My x values are changing. So please use that strategy each and every time for those reflections. So then my first image, or A prime, B prime, C prime, and D prime, because I have 4 points, are 4, 1, 2, 3, 0, -3. That's the same point, Mr. Janko. What do I? It's the same. It's fine. It's fine. Again, it's on that y-axis, and so it's not moving. And D prime is going to be 3, -2. Lastly, you want to make sure that you are translating. That means just slide and slide 3 steps to the right, and so that x value is going to be +3, and my y value is going to be +2. And so I translate to my green, and so now I am going to have the points. A double prime is 7, 3. B double prime is 5, 5. C double prime is 3, 1. Excuse me, 3, -1. Again, make sure you're seeing how did I get these values? Where Miss Shank, you're just making this up. You're just pulling numbers out of nowhere. I can assure you, there's a method for all of this. Make sure you're seeing, well, how did I get from C prime to C double prime? Again, I just take that first value, so I have 0 +3, you guessed it, is 3. -3 +2, well, that's just going to be -1. Add those values up using your integer operations to get your exact points. And lastly, D double prime is going to be 6, 0. So I have my graph. I have everything else I need. And so I am good to go. Please ask questions if you have any. If you'd like to be part of an instructional video, please let me know. Otherwise, adios, amigos.